Just getting everything ready here. Just bear with me. I'll be with you in a minute here. Feel free to say hello in the comments. And we got a couple minutes to go here. I'll wait a couple of minutes so we're on time here. In the meantime, you can check out the link at the top of the description. And I think we're ready to get started. Hi, I'm Penny Bowden, and this is Rosie. Say hi, Rosie. She's quite often my inspiration for drawing. I help aspiring artists gain functional artist intuition so that they can draw with confidence. I'm also the host of Intuitive Drawing with Penny Bowden, which is a free Facebook group for aspiring artists. I've included a link above at the top of the description for this video, so you can request to join right away. To start with, I have a question for you. How many of you are struggling with drawing confidently? How many of you are now struggling to create drawings that you really are happy with, that you're really proud to show somebody else, that you're truly proud of to put your name on, to sign your name on? You can get your comments up in the, you can get your questions and comments up in the comments there. And please bear with me. This is my first Facebook Live. I've done live on YouTube before, but I'm learning the ropes here on Facebook, and it seems to be a lot easier actually. So this is my trial live video on Facebook. So again, I want to ask you those questions. How many of you are struggling to draw confidently? How many of you are struggling to create drawings that you really are happy with, that you're really proud to show to others? Maybe you've tried meticulously measuring for accuracy and capturing all those important details, but your drawings still seem awkward and lifeless. If that is you, you are going to love this short training. At the end of this training, I'm going to invite you to sign up for some free stuff. But for now, let's get on with the video and the lesson here. I'll give you some more details later. Let's get started. I have been working with beginning artists for quite a while now, and I'm finding that everyone makes the same mistakes. And sadly, it causes people to give up far too soon. These mistakes are really easy to make, but they really can have a negative impact on your progress. Mistake number one. Mistake number one is worrying about perfection. It's not about perfection. Drawing and other art is not about perfection. It's about passion, learning, and self-discovery. It's about creatively expressing yourself. Excuse me, when I look to the side, I'm just making sure everything is working right. It looks like it is. Drawing is certainly not about perfection. And what I find is when people say that they can't draw, what they usually mean is that their drawing doesn't look like a photograph. That's not what it's about. That's what photography is for. And if we want something that looks exactly the same as in real life, then why art? Art is about self-expression. It's about your interpretation of your world. It's not about perfection. And that is the biggest thing that seems to get people to give up and say, I can't do it. I've tried it once and I can't do it. Well, if you've only tried it once and you can't do it, then that's why you can't do it, because you've only tried it once. It takes practice to get good at art. Mistake number two kind of ties right in there, and that is trying to copy exactly what you see. And we kind of already covered that in mistake number one, didn't we? It's not about copying exactly what you see. It's about your interpretation. And all too often I see people wanting to trace a drawing to paint it, to create a painting. And I find that very sad. Although it gets you to the painting part quicker, you miss a very important part of the learning process and of getting your own personality into that piece of art that you're working to create. Your drawing is like your signature. No one else's is like it. It's yours alone. And if you trace it, that's missing from it. So that's a huge part of your personality that's missing from it. And the great thing about these first two things that we've just covered is it's very freeing to accept them. Realizing you don't have to be perfect, very freeing, not just in art, but in life itself. Trying to copy exactly what you see, free yourself of that. Make it your own rendition. Make it an interpretation of your subject, just like your signature is an interpretation. Those letters in your signature are an interpretation of the letters of the alphabet that make up your name. And each person's is separate and individual, and that's what makes it art. If we went into a gallery and we saw that everyone's looked exactly the same, much like the alphabet that you see up on the wall in a kindergarten class or whatever, if it was all the same, all meticulously drawn the same way as we are used to seeing it, it wouldn't be art. What would be the point? So don't try to copy exactly what you see. Allow it to guide you, allow it to inspire you, but don't try to copy exactly what you see. Let's see if we've got anybody up there in the comments. Feel free to comment anytime. You are very welcome to, and I will be happy to answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. So trying to copy exactly what you see, that's something you certainly want to stay away from. Let it be your guide, let it be your inspiration. And when you think about all the different styles, all the way from cartoony to photorealism, and I'm not bashing photorealism, you know, if you're a photorealist and you really want to do that, then that's fine, that's your style. And I was very much into photorealism myself for a long time. I was under the assumption that that's, you know, that was what I needed to do, that was what made me a good artist, to be able to replicate it like I saw it. And now I've worked really hard to get away from photorealism, and it's very freeing. My cats are becoming very cartoony, more caricatures all the time. My birds are too. Birds and cats are a big part of my subject matter in my drawing, in my artwork. And that being said, about letting go of perfection and not copying exactly what you see and getting away from the temptation of tracing your subject, all of that transfers directly to your painting, printmaking, and whatever other kind of art you are working on. So if you skip the drawing process in the beginning, you really are depriving yourself of a huge learning opportunity, because all of that knowledge that you accumulate while you're learning to draw transfers directly to your painting or whatever other visual art you are creating, what you're participating in. Let's get to mistake number 3, which flows right in with the rest of them. Mistake number 3, and the biggest one of all, the all-encompassing one, is failing to trust yourself. You are the artist. It's not a test. It's not about perfection. It's not about trying to copy exactly what you see. It is about you. It's about your interpretation of your world, your self-expression. So when you draw, just look at your subject and kind of get a feeling of it. You know, get the feeling of that. Say I'm drawing Rosie here. I just kind of get, sometimes I'll just kind of get the flow of the top of her ears like this. Just get that flow in the side of her face and those whiskers, and just, you know, get the feeling of it first. I like to do this before I put anything onto paper. So just get that feeling of your world. Or say you're sitting in a group of people at an art class or something, and maybe you're at the back and you're looking at the backs of people's heads, and you want to maybe do a drawing of that. It's, you know, it's a little bit less threatening because you don't have to worry about a face. So a picture of a drawing of somebody sitting in a chair, just kind of, you know, get the flow of where the top of their head goes down their hairline and onto their shoulder. Get that flow. Get the feel of it before you put it on paper. think you're drawing onto the page. And to really allow yourself to let go and trust yourself, when you go to draw it, look from your subject to the paper. Don't look at the subject while you do it, just capture the feeling of it. Don't worry if it's not perfect, it's all about practice. It's not about getting it right the first time. You can't just decide to be an artist and then go create something perfect. Wait till you're good at it before you do it. You need to get those initial strokes down on paper and learn to trust yourself. If it doesn't work out, then move on and do something else. I'm not telling you to do something else right here now. Move on, do another one if it didn't turn out the first time. Draw the same subject over and over again. That's how you get good at something. And another way you want to trust yourself is also by going with what works for you. So don't think that you have to draw every subject to be a good artist. Go with what draws you. It's about your world. It's about your interpretation of your world, what matters to you. You will do better at it if you choose a subject that you know well and you are interested in. Now, that being said, a good way to get to know your subject is also to draw it lots, because drawing your subject is kind of like having an intimate relationship with it. But start with something simple, something that you know well, because drawing is knowing your subject, and knowing your subject, you're going to have more success, and that's a confidence booster. So that's part of learning to trust yourself. Do what works for you. Now, seeing as this is my first Facebook Live video, I'm going to keep it a little bit short. I want to do a quick little demonstration for you though, so if you'll just bear with me while I get my camera turned around so you can look at my drawing area. I find that one of the best things to show people is drawing faces intuitively, because drawing faces is something that people tend to be intimidated by. Just practicing here, and think that it's very difficult. So I just want to show you a quick little demonstration of how I use intuition to draw faces. So I'll just get this. Make sure that you're seeing where I'm drawing. I'm going to mark off my borders here because I don't want to go outside the area that you can see. Okay. So while I am setting up here, you can click that link at the top of the page, at the top of this post, for my Facebook group. I invite you to join, and it's an amazing community full of very encouraging and inspiring people. Great community. So I'm just having a look at my plan here just to make sure I'm covering everything that I said I was going to. I haven't, although I said I've live streamed on YouTube before, it's been a while since I've done it, so I'm a little bit rusty at it, so please bear with me. I just want to make sure I'm covering everything here. Okay, so faces, intuitive faces. So when I draw faces intuitively, for one thing, the best thing to do at first is to get it out of your mind that you have to make it look like a certain person. So just trust yourself. You're just going to draw a human face. So I like to get the eyes down first. And you know, it's different for everybody. You might not do it exactly the same as I do. You might start with a different feature, but I like to start with the eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. This paper is a little bit roughed up, but I like to get the best use out of my paper as I can. Don't like to waste. So eyes, I don't meticulously try to draw a perfect eye. I'm just going to keep it very caricature-y and cartoony here. So I'm going to start with an eye like this. You know, there's usually an eye width between the eyes. This is just a very quick demonstration. So I got some eyes here, and then I just kind of got an intuitive feel for the next one, where the next one goes. I do know that I want about an eye width in between. And then the eyebrows. So I just want to get a feel for where they'd go. You know, instead of looking at a picture of a face and trying to measure exactly, just get that feel. Let your pen hover over it for a couple seconds and, you know, just kind of get a feel for where those eyebrows should go. And you notice they're just scratched in. They're not perfectly filled. You know, it's a little bit lighter here. It kind of just looks like that's where the light's hitting it. And then placement of the nose. And there's all kinds of rules about measuring and the proper distance between the eyes and the nose and everything. And that's great, technically speaking, but it's going to depend on the way the head's tipped and everything too. So what I like to do, rather than do that, and when I discovered this, it was so freeing. This was when I was starting to discover how to use my intuition in drawing. I just realized I just need to get a feel for it. Now, where would that nose be? Up here is certainly too high, down here is too low. And, you know, take your time and don't expect to be perfect at this the first time. Do a whole page full of faces and then you will start to get the hang of it. Only if you practice though. It's, you know, it's about doing it. You gotta do it in order to get good at it. So I'm just getting a feel for that, and I'm just thinking, you know, about here feels about right. Maybe just a few lines for the nose. You don't need all the lines for the nose, because when you look at a person's face, you don't necessarily see, people like to put these lines down in here and you don't necessarily see those, although that can be kind of a charming little style too. It all depends on what works for you. So I got the lines, some lines for the nose in there, and that's all I'm going to do at this point. And the great thing about this is a sketch like this, you can carry in different directions. You could head towards photorealism if you really wanted to. You could simplify it more and make it cartoony. You can just make it your own. And then I want to get a feel for where the mouth would be. So just kind of, you know, up here is certainly too high, down here is too low. Get that feel. And get the top lip there. And that's all I want. That's just a very simple, intuitive face. You know, I can kind of fill the eyes in. And I'm using Sharpie pen here because I want it to show up well for you. I find if I use pencil for these demonstrations, sometimes it ends up shiny and it's hard to see on the video. So there's a face drawn intuitively. And I want to talk about faces a little bit here too. Let me just turn my camera back around so you can see my face again. So when it comes to drawing people that you know, whether it's a human or a cat, when it comes to drawing people that you know, like I said, practice with just a face first. And then one thing that I discovered not that long ago, actually, when it comes to capturing likeness, you can really struggle over it and try to make those features look exactly the same and fuss and fuss and fuss and still become frustrated because it may start looking like the person, but it looks lifeless and uncomfortable. What you're doing when you're fussing and worrying about perfection is you're crowding your brain. You're filling it up so you don't have room for your intuition to come in and work for you. And in order to allow your intuition to come in and work for you, you need to clear your mind and relax and just enjoy the process. And what I find works really well is if you're trying to capture likeness of a person that you know, think about that person while you're drawing. And that works in two ways. It helps you, it somehow helps your subconscious create that person on the paper, but it also gives you something to focus on rather than worrying about perfection. Just thinking about the person, not worrying about getting it exactly right, just thinking about the person and their personality. It helps you focus on something and get your mind off all the worry about perfection. So that helps clear your mind and allows room for your intuition to come in and work. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. It takes practice. It's not something that you'll be perfect at right away, but that's part of the beauty of it, because drawing is such a relaxing and meditative pursuit that it helps you escape from the pressures of everyday life. And it's great to have something that you got to spend time at. Don't ever think of it as a chore. The practice is what it's all about. We're all just beginners, really, in our own way, shape, and form. And we all, of course, want to strive to get better, but we need to enjoy the road there. And that's what it's all about. It's about practice and enjoying the process. Otherwise, what's the point? Let's see if I've covered everything I wanted to here. So I've covered all my mistakes. And as I said, this was a trial video. This was my first Facebook Live video. So I've got all kinds of ideas for the future, and I'm open for people's input too. So if you want to let me know the kind of things you'd like to see, that would be awesome. Again, if you have enjoyed this video, then I invite you to click the link at the top of this post and sign up for my free Facebook group. I am broadcasting right from this Facebook group, but I'm going to share it around. So if you're watching the replay outside of my Facebook group and you want to join, just click the link at the top of the description and ask to join, and you'll have to answer a couple of questions, and I will accept you in. I just want to make sure that everybody's in there for the right reasons is all. And in the group, you'll also find a link to my free drawing course, an introduction to intuitive drawing. So that's a free self-paced course that you can just follow along at your own pace. The group and the course are both designed to help you loosen up and trust yourself in drawing. So click the link above and request to join so that you can learn to draw intuitively and confidently. I will see you there. Thank you for joining me.